The most important lesson I've learned in the last 8 years of being an entrepreneur is that speed of implementation beats everything else. If you can come up with an idea and implement it and iterate on that, you're gonna have success faster than anybody else. And someone recently asked me, what would I have done if I wouldn't have started PNB, which for anyone that doesn't know, that's my Amazon business. If I wouldn't have started that 3 years ago, where would I be right now? And it was this really crazy light bulb moment where I realized, if I never would have started that company, well, I wouldn't be living here where I am right now. I wouldn't be able to make these YouTube videos. I wouldn't have, I've made over $300,000-$400,000 with that company. It was $100,000 plus per year passive income. I wouldn't have had that extra source of income if I wouldn't have implemented my idea. And one of the things that was crazy about Performance Nut Butter is I delayed on it for a long time. I didn't want to make mistakes. And I've talked about this in other videos, but there was times where I would be deciding between manufacturers and one might save me $1,000, or I would take my time because I didn't want to make a $1,000 mistake. So I ended up delaying the launch of my product by a month, 2 months, 3 months, let's say, just because I didn't want to make this $1,000 mistake. Well, here's the thing. When I finally launched my Amazon business, it was making $10,000 of profit per month. Meaning by delaying for 1 month to try to save $1,000, to try to do things perfect, I ended up actually losing out on a potential income of $10,000 profit. So really, by delaying, I ended up losing $9,000. And the big thing I want to tell you in this video is every day you delay starting your Amazon business, starting whatever idea you have, you're losing money. And I want this to be a wake-up call. Now I'm going to be talking about why right now is the perfect time to start your Amazon business, why you need to do it now, because there's a lot of changes coming right now with the way everything is going. And I think if you don't start it soon, it's going to become harder and harder. And this is the truth. Amazon is becoming harder. If you look online, you'll see a lot of people talking about how easy Amazon was 5 years ago, 10 years ago. And the truth is, yeah, Amazon used to be easier. And yes, it is getting harder and harder. And maybe harder is not the right word. It's changing. It's different. It used to be that you could take any junk product from Alibaba, slap a brand, slap a private label on it, sell it on Amazon and make a ton of money. It's not like that anymore. Nowadays, you have to create something unique. You have to create a brand. But that's actually a good thing because it creates a barrier to entry. Think about the more effort, the more work you put on your product, it's like building a wall around your castle and then building a moat around that castle. Because in the old days, what would happen is people would have a lot of success on Amazon, but there was nothing stopping other people from coming in, copying their product, and because if it was easy for them to do, it was easy for other people to do. Now it's a little bit more challenging, but that's not a bad thing. It's actually a good thing. If you actually understand how the Amazon algorithm works, if you actually understand customer buying psychology and understand all these things, you can have actually, I think in a lot of ways, more success now because you're not gonna have to deal with as many competitors. And the reason you're gonna wanna start your Amazon business as soon as possible is because, yes, they say how easy it was 5 years ago. Well, guess what? Wake up call. 5 years from now, people are gonna be like, oh man, back 5 years ago, right now, it was so easy to start an Amazon business. And right now, Amazon is a bit of the Wild West. It's crazy how easy and how open it is. It's not always gonna be like that. As the government starts putting more restrictions on Amazon, as they start realizing that they can't just let every random person sell on Amazon, my guess is over the course of the next 5 years, it's gonna be more and more challenging. They've done things like making it so you can only send in 200 units of your product into the Amazon warehouse when you first start. Now, the good thing is once you start getting some sales, you're able to sell more units in. But that's an example how they've made it a little bit tougher. Now, I do think eventually they might get rid of that 200 unit limit, but this is the key. The earlier you start your Amazon seller account, you're gonna be grandfathered in to so many things. And e-commerce is booming right now. I talk about this in all my videos, and people sometimes get sick of me talking about the same numbers over and over again. But the reason I keep repeating things, and I'm gonna keep repeating things, is most people that watch my YouTube videos still haven't started their business yet, and that's crazy to me. It's not hard to start an Amazon business, and as I've said 100 times, e-commerce is growing like crazy. In 2019, e-commerce made up 12% of all retail sales. Last year was 16%. We're right on the apex of this growth curve, and obviously e-commerce is the future, and obviously if you're watching this channel, you know 50% of all e-commerce happens on Amazon. They did $400 billion in sales last year. 2/3 of all sales are from third-party sellers. So it's obvious to me, and I think it's probably obvious to you, that if you're going to start a business, this is the perfect time, probably in all of history, the best time ever to start, especially an online business. It's the easiest it's ever been. There's so many freaking customers on Amazon, over 100 million Prime customers just in the United States. And I understand what it's like to have fear, to be scared, to start something new. I suffered from a lot of analysis paralysis, and as I mentioned, every month that I was stuck in analysis paralysis, I was losing money by not starting my Amazon business. And that's the problem with humans. We're loss avoidance machines, meaning that it hurts us more to lose $1,000 than it gives us pleasure to make $1,000. I've heard numbers 2, 3, 4, 5 times. It hurts 5 times more to lose $1,000 than it does to make $1,000. So that's why so many people are scared to start businesses. As I mentioned earlier, it's like I was so scared at losing $1,000, I didn't see the bigger picture and realize, oh yeah, it's okay if I lose $1,000 if it means that I'm gonna make $10,000 profit per month faster. And this is the kind of concept that billionaires know about. Mark Zuckerberg, when he was first starting Facebook, he put a motto on the wall and said, move fast and break things. The whole idea behind this motto was speed of implementation. And I want you to think about it. Let's say we have 2 identical people. One person that launches a product, puts it out in the world, gets real feedback, real data, and then 3 months later iterates on it, makes a version 2.0, and then 3 months later does a version 3.0, or maybe they just do completely different products 3 months later. And then another person who's sitting around waiting, trying to make something perfect and takes a year to launch it. Who do you think is going to have more success in the long run? My guess is the person that's just moving, trying to figure things out in the real world. Because the way, again, the human brain works is in our head, things can make a lot of sense, but as soon as you launch your product, as soon as you launch your business and you realize that, oh yeah, that's not how reality actually works, you're gonna have to pivot and change your business. And the beautiful thing about business, again, especially in Amazon business, is you don't have to just launch it as a shot in the dark. And another thing, a lot of people come to me and they're like, hey, I don't have a lot of money, I'm scared about starting my Amazon business. That's not a good excuse. If you're watching this and you're like, well, I don't have enough money to start, bunch of BS. I'm working with a guy named AJ, and he raised $30,000 for his product on Indiegogo. $20,000 of that came in a 24-hour period. He had a TikTok that went viral. Basically paid for the entire start of his company. So there's, in my opinion, there's no real excuses. As an entrepreneur, that's the big thing. When I was first quitting my corporate job, everyone would come up to me and like, hey, well, what if this happens? What if this other random thing happens? And what I realized is, as an entrepreneur, your job is to kind of figure it out as you go. You gotta jump in the water and you gotta start swimming and you gotta figure things out as you go. Now, I'm not saying not to plan, definitely plan, but analysis paralysis kills entrepreneurs. On the other hand, speed of implementation, acting fast, launching things, and just really taking those baby steps forward, that's what makes entrepreneurs successful. And I do want to say before I go to my last point that my Amazon training program does close tonight at midnight. There's only limited spaces available. I'll put more information in a link down below. But here's the last thing I want to express to you, is that a lot of people come to me and they say, hey, I made $1,200 off the stimulus check, or I have this money that I want to invest. Ariana was actually saying, hey, I have $100 that I want to invest. Where should I put it? And a lot of people would say, oh, well, put it in gold because gold will never go down in value, or it's not that it will never go down in value, that it's very unlikely to. Or stocks, the S&P 500, which I think right now is probably a little overvalued, but that's a whole nother tangent. Or maybe they want to pick random stocks or companies. The only place that never goes down in value, that actually increases in value over time, is you. If you invest $100, $1,000, whatever amount of money into your own education, that's the only way I see of guaranteeing a return on your investment. And it's not like you're gonna get a 5% return on your investment. No. You'll get a much higher percentage return on your investment than anything else that you can invest in. But on top of that, it compounds year after year. And the biggest way, without a doubt, I've ever invested in myself was starting businesses. Maybe it's buying a camera to make a YouTube video. Maybe it's investing in my first website, the dance clothing website. Maybe it was investing in a production run, a performance nut butter, or even the initial samples. But the money I've personally invested in my businesses has paid me back in knowledge and experience 10, 20x. And the big thing, when I was first quitting my corporate job, people would come to me and say, 4 out of 5 businesses fail. And what my answer to them was? I'll start 5 businesses. Because eventually, first off, statistically, if I do 5 businesses, one of them will succeed. And obviously, I said that half joking. Because the truth is, If you launch a business and it fails, then guess what? You start another one, you learn from the lessons. And here's a little pro tip. Anyone that says 4 out of 5 businesses fail, they don't really understand the numbers. It's actually 4 out of 5 businesses fail within the first 5 years. You can make a lot of money in 5 years and then something crazy happens and you have to close down shop, or maybe after 5 years you just decide to do something else. But so when I started the dance clothing business, I told people, well, if that one fails, it's okay. I'll try another one and I'll try another one and I'll try. And that business is still around despite everyone told me that 4 out of 5 businesses fail within the first 5 years. Here's another thing. 4 out of 5 people that start a business have never read a book on starting a business. I'm willing to bet 4 out of 5 people that start a business never watched a YouTube video like you have. And this is the key thing. Invest in yourself. And that could mean buying a book or investing in your first business where you're gonna learn a bunch, or joining a mastermind, which is one of the first things that I ever did. I joined a mastermind. It was a podcast I was listening to that, funny enough, I later ended up becoming a co-host on. He had a mastermind. He had an e-commerce mastermind. I joined it. And within a few months of joining that mastermind, I 4x'd the revenue for my first e-commerce business. And here's another key, is that surround yourself with other people that are successful or at least trying to do the same thing you are. I'm gonna be starting a TikTok soon. And so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna surround myself with people that are more successful than me at TikTok, like AJ and a bunch of other people that are also trying to do TikTok, and we're gonna learn it together. And that's a key principle to entrepreneurship. Surround yourself with people that have similar goals as you and people that are more experienced than you. And for all these reasons, that's why I started my Amazon FBA training program, was to show people, hey, this is exactly what I did step by step. On top of that, I'm gonna surround you with a bunch of other people that have similar goals. I have weekly Q&As, so if you ever have questions with me, I can answer them. Really, I wanna give you the best chance that you have at success with Amazon. And I can't emphasize this enough. Right now is the perfect time to start. There's only a few spots left for this round. I'm closing this tonight. I do not know when I'm gonna reopen it. You can click right here to get more information. And if you're watching this in the future, you can click right here to get on the wait list for whenever, if I ever reopen this. So invest in yourself, invest in your success, invest in your future. And I hope I can help you to do that. So click on the link to find out more information, and I hope to see you in the training program.